Here's what you're missing over at patreon.com/addressing Gettysburg.
And then his mom did it, and so the next generation did it, and the only reason Grandma did it was because it didn't fit in the pan. And so now everybody's got the end of it, and nobody knows why.
Oh my God, that's funny. Just to make it fit.
And so everybody's getting a big ham. They got a big pan, they whack off the end.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
That's priceless.
I like that. But sometimes I wonder how many traditions that we have are based on. Yeah.
Just what we were talking about.
Just somebody did it for a practical reason, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is how you have to do it." And then for 100 years, families do it
because you don't know why it's done, so you assume that there's some science behind
it.
Right.
Yours is not the reason why.
Grandma had a small pan.
That's the best part.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Spotlight on Sue Boardman. Today we're doing a spotlight on Sue Boardman, a fan favorite here on Addressing Gettysburg. She made her debut talking about the cyclorama and all the work that was done in restoring it and the history of it. And people loved it, and they say, you have to have Sue back on. And I twisted her arm. I begged. I bargained, I pled, I stole, I did many, many untoward things just to get her to come back on. And you'll be happy to know, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know when this is coming out per se, but there is another episode, a free episode, an Ask a Guide that we did with Sue a couple of weeks ago. Was that a week ago or a couple of weeks ago?
Couple weeks ago.
Sue Boardman and Deb Novotny and Jesse Wiedelton, and that is available there. So you can get your fill, oh Sue. But in the meantime, welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing this. I know you are you're an elusive celebrity. You don't like to do interviews. You like to keep under the radar. But we finally got you.
I have no filter.
Yes.
It gets me in trouble.
So you're trying to protect yourself, really, is what it is.
I'm much better scripted.
Well, don't worry. I will always use discretion with this one. So if you say anything that's really horrible,
I can do this.
Yeah. I'll make a mark and I'll cut it out. But I'm sure we won't have to do that because we're not going to get crazy like that or anything. We're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk local politics. We're just going to talk about you. And, the idea of this is that people like listening to you guys come on as the experts, but they kind of want to get to know you a little bit more as people. And I think it also helps those out there who are aspiring to be guides or historians in general, just to see how everybody got to where they are. So you're helping a lot of people by coming on, and we thank you for that, Sue.
Well, good.
All right, so let's start off with the basics. Where were you born?
Danville, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you are a native Pennsylvanian.
I'm a Pennsyltuckian.
Pennsyltuckian. Where is Danville?
Okay, you go to Harrisburg, you hit that river, and you go north for an hour.
Oh, okay.
And Pennsylvania is the only place where you get every distance in hours, not miles.
Right.
But I'm about 2 hours from home right now.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good point. It is that way. Tomorrow I have to go to a funeral about an hour and 45 minutes away.
See?
Northwest of here.
Where are you going?
Saxton.
Okay.
Which is, 40 miles maybe? I don't even know.
Well, I think 94 miles is Danville.
Okay, and that's 2 hours?
About.
So then this would be, but I have to go up 30. As the crow flies, I don't even know if it's really, if I could fly straight there or drive straight there, I don't think it would take an hour and 45 minutes, but I think because you got to go up and down the mountains and everything, and lights in Chambersburg, because you take 30 the whole way basically, and so that's why it takes so long. It's really not that far away.
When I go home, I like the scenic route, which is 34.
Yeah. And you take that all the way up?
All the way to the 11 and 15 below Liverpool.
Yeah. So you're born in Danville.
They call us river rats because we were born in. You're either a ridge runner up there or you're a river rat.
Oh, so you were down on the river.
So I'm in the town on the river, but over to the west of us was mountains.
So running around as a kid barefoot with cut off overalls and
we played in the
like Huck Finn, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you build rafts?
No.
No.
The river was full of toxic waste.
Yeah, and?
Maybe that's my excuse. I don't know.
I remember my grandfather, he grew up in Brooklyn, and he used to talk about going swimming in the river back then, and they'd come out in this just this film of just filth over them. But they would do it every day in the summertime.
You don't know any better.
No.
Well, there's a book out called Susquehanna River of Dreams.
Okay.
I read it about 2 years ago, and now I won't go near that river.
Really?
It's bad.
Is it really?
I mean, I'm talking radioactive waste coming
kidding.
north, down, the mine acids. Fish were dying all the time.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was my river. But
Yeah.
it's a great river. I love that river.
In spite of it, it's
it's clean now.
What's great about it?
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Yeah. It's a big river. It's wide.
In fact, Susquehanna means wide and muddy
Of course it does.
in Indian.
In Indian.
Sorry, Native American.
Algonquin, what was the...
I'm not. I should Susquehannock.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
me too. Duh.
So they're the Wide River people.
Yes.
Okay. So what was it like growing up there? What did you do? What were your interests? What did you like to do as a little kid?
Wow. We did things that modern children are not allowed to do.
Like play
We
outside?
got on our bike and we took a 12-mile bike ride and
Yeah.
called our parents from some distant place and said, I'm in Catawissa, I'll be home in another 3 hours. And that was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really cool. We explored.
I was just thinking of this last night. There was a park, not a few miles from where we lived. It was in the next town over, but my dad liked to go there and play basketball. And so we'd bring my bike down and he'd play basketball and I'd go ride around the park. And there were I can still see the layout of the park in my head. And I'm like, I used to go riding where I'm completely out of his sight. And some pervert could have jumped out of a bush and grabbed me and then, taken one look at me and said, oh, no, keep going. Like every woman has ever done. But,
I can't believe that.
Oh, believe it. The blind women love me. Yeah. It's the ones that can see that have a hard time.
I think you're handsome.
Well, thank you. But you also have a cataract, don't you?
No.
Oh. Who am I thinking of?
I wear glasses.
Thank you. No, that's very nice of you. No, so anyway, I couldn't believe that because nowadays, if a kid goes within mom or dad's sight, but they're 50 yards away, they're like, get back here, hurry. Like, because all of a sudden somebody fleet of foot is going to come swooping out of nowhere and steal the child. But back then, no, it was like, well, if somebody tries to kidnap you, you got to learn how to get out of it, figure it out.
And I'm sure my mom deliberately didn't set my place at the table until I showed up, in case I didn't.
Those were the days.
Yeah, weren't they?
Well, if we lose her, we'll make more.
Well,
how many siblings?
I'm one of 4.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
so
the
she had plenty.
Second oldest, yeah.
Yeah, she was hoping to get rid of one of you.
I was the girl, which, I'm from a very German culture family, where boys walk on water, girls, you're there to serve.
They sink.
Pretty much.
If they don't sink, then they're not a witch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Or is it the other way around? Either way. You were the only girl, you said?
No, there's 2 girls.
Two girls,
so it was
two
boy,
boys.
girl, girl, boy.
Boy, girl, boy. Okay, good. So it's
Boy,
a
girl, girl, boy.
boy, girl. Yeah. Didn't I say that?
Yes, I don't know.
I mispronounced girl the second time. I got tongue-tied, so maybe you
grill,
thought I was...
yeah.
Yeah, it was girl. Boy, girl, burl. So what were your interests? So you go and play around, like normal kids used to do. You go exploring. What did you like to get into when you would go explore? Just randomly ride and see what happens, or was there a certain adventure you'd seek?
No, we liked to go to places where there were a lot of rocks so we could find quartz and stuff like that. I
Okay.
mean, very earthy kind of stuff. I didn't really get into the intellectual part until my brother and I started to get real competitive. Oh. Report card stuff. And then one day I overheard my dad say at the table that I was smarter. I just was intellectually more lazy. So I showed him that he was wrong. And to this day, my brother holds that against me, that I'm smarter.
Wait a second. Your dad said you were smarter but intellectually lazy, and you proved him wrong.
That I didn't utilize my smarts.
Yeah. So in other words, you utilized them.
Yeah. So I turned around and said,
you
okay,
didn't
I'll
prove
show
him
you.
wrong that you were smart. You proved him wrong that you were lazy.
Oh, I proved him wrong. I was smart and smarter
Oh.
than
Okay.
my brother.
Okay. So, and what did you get into? History right away, or?
No, I hated history.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
I tell you right now, I realize that children's abilities are important.
Yeah.
But so is how the world is presented to them.
Uh-huh.
My history teachers were all coaches, and coaching was their love.
Right.
So they would stick their head in the door and say, read, blah, 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 we'll have a quiz tomorrow, and out they go, and it was dead guys and dates.
Right,
I hated
right.
it.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was out of school that I really started to get into history.
You know, I'm trying to think. No, I always liked history, but I did find it when I started addressing Gettysburg, I made a t-shirt that said, history is not boring, your teachers were.
Yes.
And a lot of my teacher listeners were like, I don't appreciate that because I'm a teacher. I'm like, okay, I didn't say you Joe
right.
Blow, is boring. I'm saying in general, most people think history is boring because of the way it was presented to them.
Exactly.
That's what, if you were a good teacher, you would understand English and you would understand what I'm saying when I say that, but no.
It's like, that matters to me. Why? Tell me why.
Yeah.
And it turns out some of it does matter. But I get the same thing. I was math and science geek.
Okay.
So you know, so people say, oh, I didn't use algebra. You probably do. You just don't know it. And when I went into nursing, algebra was very helpful.
Okay, explain to me, because we just had this conversation 2 weeks ago on the show. We had one of our listeners was in town for our tour, and he brought his 9-year-old son, and we were interviewing him, and you know, what's your favorite subject, that type of stuff or whatever. And, or somehow math came up and we were like, you're not going to need math. And he's like, yeah, I know it's stupid. And I go, yeah, I mean, it's like, you need to know how to add and subtract and maybe multiply and divide. But beyond that, like, what are you going to use algebra for? Nobody's ever going to. And, of course we were, you know, joking. We're trying to get a rise out of the people in the audience going, how could you tell a young boy that? But give me an example of how we would use algebra or how you've used algebra. I can't think of how I've used algebra. I don't even remember algebra. I don't remember PEMDAS. I don't remember anything. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Perfectly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so cook without it.
I do cook without it every day.
Well, okay, what's your food taste
I
like?
hit 3 on the microwave and then...
yeah. You're right. That does not require...
No. What do you mean cook with it? Go ahead, explain this.
So, I'll probably screw this up. But you've got a recipe that calls for 3/4 of a cup of this, and it comes over here in ounces, and you double it. Okay, so now you have to do the unknown by figuring out what you already know.
So I have to double 3/4 of an ounce. Right?
No, it's cups, but it's presented in cups, and you only want ounces, and so you have to do conversions. And conversions are easy if you understand algebra.
Okay, that's a good point.
But I don't really care because I wing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd never.
But in nursing,
oh well, now nursing is a different story.
Well, it was important in nursing until the pharmacy handed you the right thing. And then you didn't have to think about it.
Okay, but so I think I even said that to the young lad. I said there's certain careers where you absolutely need to do all this stuff.
Yes.
But for the most part, they just teach it to you in school to expose you to it, to see if that's where you're going to go, then you know that you have a foundation in it if you decide you want to go into one of these fields.
But it isn't the actual field itself that sometimes is important. It's teaching you to process in that way.
It's the thought process.
It's process.
Teaching you how to think.
It's teaching you how to go from A to B by only getting C as an answer. Now to that point, I had calculus and trig, and they are the most worthless things I ever had.
See, now
because
that's
I'm going to engineering.
Well, right. So I would think calculus and trig were more useful.
Oh, less.
Than algebra, really. See, I never took calculus and trig.
And geometry is fascinating, but it was just more fun than.
Oh, geometry I loved.
Me too. That was my favorite of all the higher math.
Yeah, because it reminded me of kindergarten when you learn shapes.
Kinda.
Yeah, but also
I'm proud that I could solve the Pythagorean theorem.
But it's also practical. Like if I'm doing any kind of carpentry,
that's right,
which I don't do, but if I did,
yeah.
Also, the study of this battle with artillery and angles and things, I think it helps with that as well.
You're right.
So geometry is a practical math. I liked geometry. That was the only math class ever that I got an A in. Usually, I was a straight C student, and I sweated to get that C. I'm like an idiot when it comes to math. I blame Catholic school, but really the reality is I'm just not good at math. That's not the side of the brain that works.
And as I said, there's aptitude, and you just have to find that niche when you're in school.
And I'm not apt.
Like languages, I took Latin. It's dead.
It's dead, but it's the foundation of so many languages.
It is. And nursing, a lot of nursing. And I had no intentions of going into nursing when I was in school.
Listen to the rest of this interview and dozens like it. Support the show and get early access to special episodes, early and discounted ticket sales, and more. The second lieutenant level and above gets access to all monthly Patreon episodes. So please go to patreon.com/addressinggettysburg, choose a tier, and join. And I thank you in advance.